In the previous class, we saw the basics of research, what research is and the types of research. We saw two types of research. One is quantitative and the other one is qualitative. In this class, we are going to see in detail the rest of the methods of research or rest of the types of research, and we will also see the characteristics of the research. First, we already saw what is research, its meaning. Just to recap, what is research? Research has been defined differently according to each discipline, whether it's science, arts, or humanities. It is differently defined according to the need of the discipline. But its core, its basic is the same. What is its basic? Its basic is to find new knowledge to help in solving problems or understanding concepts. Whichever field research is done, the basic core is to find new knowledge to help solving problems or to understand concepts and making decisions. And research is a systematic investigation. There is a process flow for research to happen, and it is systematic aimed at discovering new knowledge. So when we do research, we are going behind knowledge. It is discovering it. We do a systematic. There is a systematic process. We do things systematically to find new knowledge or to validate existing principles. Or if we take a principle or something that is already existing, we are trying to find out whether it is correct or incorrect. Maybe we can go for or against it, but we have a systematic process in place. Differences in definitions. So according to each uh, discipline, the definition differs. And the unique, according to each discipline, there are methodologies and approaches. So there are three things that we have to remember. Research, the definition varies according to each discipline, but the core does not vary. What is the core of research? The core of research is to solve problems or to understand concepts or to make decisions. Just the name varies and just the definition for each discipline varies, but its core will not vary. First thing, the second thing that we have to remember is it is a systematic investigation. There is a system that is being followed in place when our research takes place. These are the two things that we have to remember from the slide. Okay, there are a couple of scholarly definitions. Now, the common definition is what we saw. There are three things that we remember as we saw. But some scholars have given their view or definitions based on the research. One scholar is Thayer, who had given this definition in the year 2001. Research is split into two words, that is, again, and search, examine carefully. It is a meticulous study of two established facts. According to Thayer, the definition for research is when research is split into two words, and search. Is again, search is examined carefully. It's split into two words and it reads a meticulous study to establish facts. That's one explanation or definition. The second one, which is given by Catherine Dawson, research is a structured inquiry using scientific methods to solve problems and to generate knowledge. Nobody varies from the core. We do a research to generate knowledge. It is a structured inquiry using scientific method. That's what Catherine Dawson says. Structured inquiry using scientific methods to solve problem and to generate knowledge. And Rocco in the year 2011 says research is a careful investigation to discover new facts in any field. The existing fact, to add to it, there will be a lot of discovery. And Rocco says research is a careful investigation to discover new facts. Fourth one, Redman and Mori. He says research is a journey from the known to unknown, emphasizing exploration. This particular definition was given in the last class also. Redman and Mori says research is a journey where we move from known to unknown, emphasizing exploration. Creswell says research is a systematic investigation to establish facts. So these are the four scholarly definitions. And there are perspective to according to different people. And what is the perspective that they had given? Clifford Woody says research involves defining problems, formulating hypotheses, collecting and analyzing data, and drawing conclusion. This is what he views research as. These words are the common words which we use throughout research. The words like for defining problems, hypothesis, collection, analysis, conclusion, or the common words which we use throughout research. So Clifford Woody says research involves defining problems, formulating hypothesis, collecting and analyzing data, and drawing conclusions. Kara calls research as the art of scientific investigation. Cohen and Hairili says focus on gathering and analyzing information to derive new meanings and solve problems with open-ended inquiry, which means one who does research should have an open-minded or open setting. Only then he would be able to gather and analyze new information, and only then he will be able to derive at new conclusions. So the research should always be open-ended. Martin Shuttleworth says any activity aimed at advancing knowledge, movement or progression in knowledge. Creswell, as Chris says, his perspective on research, according to him, research is a step-by-step process where you pose a question, collect data, and then present the findings. So any research, according to Creswell, has three steps. First is posing a question, collecting data, and presenting findings. So just that we saw research, and then we saw a couple of, the second slide says a couple of definitions of research, and the third is perspective on research. Moving further, we would see the types of research. The types of research, this is a basic research. Basic research is the fundamental or pure research. It is also known as fundamental research or pure research. It explores theories and principles. What does this basic research do? It explores theories and principles and without immediate application. One who does a basic research will do it to acquire fundamental knowledge and explore the theory that is already existing. And the theory need not be immediately applied. So this is what the definition of basic research is. If you look at the real-time examples, what are the examples where this particular basic research is used? Why are these examples important? Most of the time in UGC-NET, we have questions based out of examples. There would be an example stated and question would be posed from that example. That is why we have a couple of examples listed down, and you can further to this, there would be a lot of examples. These are the kinds of examples which fall into this category. Example is studying the behavior of black hole in astrophysics is a basic research where we gain fundamental knowledge and apply the theories which are already available. Immediate application need not be done, or it is not practically done during the tenure of research. Research on how neurons communicate in the brain, exploring the genetic sequences of extinct species. Or simply, you can also say studying how memory works. All these are real-time examples of basic research. Basic research is pure research or fundamental research, and basic research is basically done only to expand the available knowledge and theory, and it is not required that immediately that there has to be a practical application to this research. So we have a couple of examples. Where is it used? It's generally used in studies. In studies, how memory or brain works, behavior of black holes, neurons, the behavior of neurons, genetic sequences, all this fall under the category of basic research. The next research is applied research. Applied research uses knowledge to solve the real world problems. A research that is used to solve the problems that are existing, the real world problems. If we do a research on them and find a solution to the existing problem, then it is applied research. Okay, and applied research focus on solving specific practical problems. It translates the theoretical knowledge into real world applications. And real time examples would be developing AI driven diagnostic tools in healthcare, which is happening now to give a progression in healthcare. This is a real world application. When the word applied is seen, you can also infer from that particular word that it is anything that is existing and a research that is used to solve some practical issues, right? And we have AI-driven diagnostic tools in healthcare, eco-friendly packaging materials, designing software to improve cyber security measures. We also have everything that is related to technology and today's life. Any technology, when it is applied to real time, it would fall under the category of applied research. Generally, it is in technology development or healthcare solutions. Developing a new medicine for diabetes, all these will fall under the category of applied research. Moving on to the third one, this is descriptive research. The descriptive research meaning or the definition is it provides a detailed overview of a phenomenon or group or situation. When you do a descriptive research, you generally answer the questions what, who, when, where without explaining why. So there is no need of an explanation why a particular thing has happened or happening, but it will answer what, who, when, and where. Okay, and the examples would be a survey on customer preferences of electric vehicle. So in this particular research, there is an answer for the question who? Who are the customers? And then what is the need of the customer? This kind of answering the questions fall under descriptive research, census data collection on population demographics, market analysis of social media usage among teenagers. There need not be a detailed description on why particular thing is happening or why that research is happening, but it will answer the question what, who, when, and where. This is our descriptive research. Moving on to next thing, it is the fourth one is explanatory research. Explanatory research, as the name goes, it's going to explain something, identifies relationship between variables and explains why. In the previous research, in descriptive research, there is no explanation of why, whereas in explanatory research, it answers why a phenomena occurs. Generally, this involves hypothesis testing and statistical analysis. This goes under quantitativeness. There would be a testing and then there would be analysis, statistics. There would be numbers would be involved in this particular research. Only then we would be able to give a conclusion for the question why. The real-time examples for this research would be investigating the effect of junk food on childhood obesity. So there has to be two things taken into consideration, childhood obesity and junk food. And number of children. So there is a lot of statistics involved in this particular research. Number of children who are obese and the junk food that they eat and why. It has to go with the question why. The second real-time example would be studying the impact of online learning on student performance. So a couple of online learners or students would be taken into consideration and then the impact, the result, the output is analyzed. So there is a lot of data and statistics involved in it. And then the result of the student determines the impact of online learning. Examining how air pollution contributes to respiratory disease. So air pollution, the lot of air pollution, the places where there is a lot of air pollution and whether it is caused by the vehicles or what causes it, whether there is an industry, all these factors are considered. And then there would be a statistics based on the statistics and the respiratory diseases that is existent in the particular area is also considered. Then the reason why the respiratory disease occurs, what is the cause, air pollution. So this is tested in an explanatory research, right? We move on to the next research. This is exploratory research. Now we saw explanatory, exploratory. Exploratory research will investigate a new topic without clear answers. Something, a new venture where there is no clear answers. Whereas in explanatory, the difference is there would always already be some answers. Oh, what is the respiratory disease that is existing in that particular area? For example, if we look at the third example, so already the existing respiratory disease is known to the researcher. The air pollution is also known to the researcher, and he explains why. Whereas in exploratory, very little is known about the topic. The researcher would not know much about it. It helps to generate hypotheses and identify future research directions. Here, in explanatory, it gives an explanation of all the happenings, whereas in exploratory, we begin from something that is not known, we explore, and then there would be an future research direction. We give an answer which leads way to future research directions. When there is an exploratory research done, the outcome will help the future researchers. The real-time example where we have an exploratory would be researching the effects of AI in education. This is the most important or most common, relevant to today's world. AI in education. AI in education, what we know very little. When we begin a research on AI in education, there might be very little knowledge. Once the research is done, it can give a answer which will help the future researchers to understand what has already happened. Okay, and exploring how AI will transform legal services. So AI is into all the fields, healthcare, education, etc., etc. So now new thing is, what if AI enters legal services? Right? And the second real-time explanation would be, sorry, example would be investigating consumer acceptance of lab-grown meat. A meat which is produced in lab, how would a consumer accept it? Whether would it be accepted there? Whereas in these cases, very little is known about the whatever is being researched. Studying how remote work affects mental well-being, work from home, how it affects. This is exploratory research. Next, moving on to the next, it is cross-sectional research. Cross-sectional research is a research which studies different groups at the same time. So different ethnic groups at the same time when we analyze the data of different groups. The single point. Data is a sample is collected from group A, group B, group C, group D, and it is analyzed at a same point. And where is it used? It is used in market research, public health. These kind of cross-sectional research is generally used in market research. And then public health, comparing the eating habits of teenagers and adults. Same time, same time slot, same time period, where we compare the eating habits of a particular teenager or an adult. Comparing smartphone usage among different age groups, analyzing political opinions of voters before an election, examining social media habits among teenagers and adults. So when we take up the second example, political opinions of voters. So political opinion of people from urban area or rural area. Everybody has to consider, and you collect sample from each of the group during the same time to understand the mindset. And we also, when we compare the usage of smartphone, different age group, what is their need, how they use a particular smartphone, all that at the same time. It's done at the same time. This is the cross-sectional research. Basically, cross-sectional research is a study which is conducted on different groups at the same time. Next research is longitudinal research. It's the study, sorry, it studies the same group over a long period of time, because things may change from for each person during his course of life, right? The same person who does something at the age of 14 may not do it at the age of 20, and he may not do things which he did at the age of 20 when he's 40. So this is a long-term research. Studies the same group over a long period of time, right? Helps track changes and trends. Why do we do it? We understand the change in trend. We understand the lifestyle. So, for example, if we track the lifestyle or a career growth, what one does when he was 15. When he was 15, he would have been a student. And 20, what was he? 25, what was he? 30. So, it will help us to analyze the growth of a particular person over a period of time, growth of a particular situation over a period of time. So it is not only applicable for person, it is applicable to groups. For example, tribal people, how they were when they were young, and what are the changes that has affected them when they grow up. So it helps us to change, to find the changes that happens in people. So real-time examples would be tracking the career growth of university graduate over 10 years, how they transformed. Studying a long-term effects of diet on heart disease, and then comparing, okay, monitoring climate changes, impacts on coral reefs over decades, and tracking the health of people over 20 years. So this is a good example. Before 20 years, what was the health, how the health of people was, and now what is the, how the health of people is. The visits, number of visits to doctors have increased, and the number of diseases have increased. All this will comes under longitudinal research. Moving on to the next one is experimental research. This manipulates independent variables to study their effect on dependent variables. Experimental, the word says when we do an experiment, we test the cause and effect relationship. Why is an experiment done? We do a testing, a sample testing to find out the result. The word itself is an explanation of this particular type of research. We test cause and effect relationship in this research. It is a cause and effect relationship. It is done in a controlled environment, ensures reliable cause and effect conclusions. Real-time examples would be testing a new COVID-19 vaccine in clinical trials. It would only be done in a closed environment to test and find what is the solution, an outcome. Studying the effectiveness of a new teaching method on student grades, evaluating the impact of a drug on depression symptoms in patients. All this, any healthcare, mostly healthcare, medicines and all that form under or come under this experimental research. Right? If also any new drug, when it is tested, it is under experimental research. Moving on to the next one, it is correlational research. Correlational research finds relationship between two factors without manipulation. It will find the relationship between A and B without adding extra information. And correlational research are of three types. It is positive, negative, or zero correlation, but it will not establish causation. Where is it used? This correlational research is used in social sciences and businesses. And the real-time examples would be investigating the link between sleep duration and memory retention. The better the sleep quality is, the better the memory is. These are all the relationship between two factors. One is sleep, the one other factor is memory. How it works. Analyzing the correlation between exercise and mental well-being. When a person does an exercise, what is the mental, how does his mental health be? and studying the relationship between screen time. The more someone spends time with screen, how their attention be, whether there is a fall in their attention levels because of spending a lot of time on screen. And also, another example would be like link between social media use and depression. All the real time examples that are stated here or examples that can be used in today's world or used for today's world. So this is correlational. The word itself suggests there is a relation. We are analyzing a relation between one variable and another. And these types of correlation, there are three types of correlation. One is positive, negative, and zero. What is positive? When one variable increases, the other also increases. It is the progresses. If one increases, the other will increase. One decreases, the other will decrease. This was positive. The examples that are given here. If an higher education level increases, there would be higher salary. More exercise, better health. If there is increase in temperature, then it is increase in ice cream sales. So the increase, if one variable increases, the other should also increase. Then it is called as positive correlation. Okay, and the negative would be just the opposite. If one variable increase, then the other variable decreases. For example, more screen time, lower sleep quality. Higher fuel prices, lower car usage. Increase in stress, decrease in productivity. This is negative. When there is one increase in one variable, the other variable decreases. Zero correlation. There is no relationship between the two variables. They just act as a part and they do not affect each other. There is no connectivity or relationship between the shoe that a person wears and his intelligence level. Right? There is no connection between the number of pets owned and the annual income. Annual income and the number of pets owned, there is no increase. Oh, sorry, there is no relationship. Favorite color and driving skills, it has got no relation. So there are three types of correlation. One is positive, another one is negative, another is zero. And three types, the first type positive, if there is an increase in one variable, the other also increases. If it's negative, one variable increases and the other decreases. When we call something as a zero correlation, there is no connection between the two variables that are taken for research. Action research. Next thing that we have here is action research. So action research is a participatory approach aimed at solving real world problems within a specific context. It involves collaboration between researchers and stakeholders. For example, a school conducting research to improve classroom behavior. So this should have a connection between the real world problem here is the classroom behavior and school conducting a research. So within the specific context, this can happen only within the classroom. And then there is a direct connection between the person who's handling the classroom and the student also. All these factors are considered and then it is an action oriented research. More than writing, more than analyzing, there would be lot of actions involved. If a student behaves in this way, why? What is the reason? All that comes into place. The hospital studying ways to enhance patient care experiences. Right. And why is this research done? Action research is done to improve practices in a specific setting. The research, this kind of a research, the action research, is only applicable to a specific setting. When there is a research done in hospital, the particular outcome is applicable only to the hospital setting. It may not be implemented in a school setting or in an office setting. So it is in a specific context. So this kind of researches is done to improve, to show some improvement in that context, in the area. Or a company is analyzing how to boost employee productivity. These are some examples. Education, workplace training. Why do we have training in workplace or anywhere that we join? It helps in the improvement of the quality of the workers. So all this comes under action research. Action research is applicable for a specific context in a specific setting. And these we have some examples wherein one output, one result's output may not affect the other one. It is not applicable. The research output which is applicable for school is not applicable for hospital. And then for hospital, when we have a research done, it is not applicable for office. That's all. It is only specific to that particular institution. Next, after we saw all this, now we are going to see the characteristics, which is again most important. In UGC-NET, there are questions asked on the characteristics. Characteristics are nothing but the essential skills and qualities one should have for effective research. So there are a couple of skills that one should have or possess before entering into a research. Those are commonly we know which are they and they are common, but then we are going to read it in detail so that we understand that these are the qualities a researcher must possess. The first one is, what is that? The research aptitude encompasses skills, qualities, and attitudes essential for conducting a meaningful research. Why do we need that attitude? What skill you need? What are the qualities that one needs? What is the attitude or the mindset that a researcher must have? Explain the characteristics of research. Why is it necessary? It enables problem solving. So if we have a particular set of skills or qualities, it enables in smooth problem solving, in systematic way of doing a research, because research, the definition itself says it is a systematic inquiry. The word systematic plays an important role in research. Any research has to be done systematically. Systematic inquiry and knowledge advancement. Why do I do a research? I do a research because I want to advance the knowledge. I want some improvement in the knowledge, to the existing knowledge, right? A researcher studying climate changes must critically evaluate data, develop innovative methodologies, and maintain ethical integrity in reporting findings. For example, a weatherman, somebody who speaks about weather, should know how to evaluate data without knowing the without knowing the geography, without knowing the data, and without finding a way to understand the climatic changes, it is not possible for a researcher to do that. So that basic skill set he has to possess, the quality of analyzing data he has to have, and he has to have an attitude which where it is ethically integrated attitude, which is he should be able to understand the diverse people, and he should follow ethical integrity in reporting his findings. First thing, the basic quality is critical thinking. Why do one need critical thinking? Because all the researchers, whichever research in whichever discipline that one does, critical thinking only leads to keen inquisitiveness and finding knowledge. Critical thinking is objective analysis and evaluation of arguments and evidence. One cannot be partial towards arguments, and one cannot be favoring arguments or analysis. So if a researcher does that without critically thinking and analyzing a concept or a statement, he would not be able to do a good research. If he blindly follows, there wouldn't be a good output. And then, so critical thinking is nothing but analysis and evaluation of arguments and evidence. And there has to be logical connection, questioning assumption and detecting flaws in reasoning. That is where critical thinking plays an important role. So if one is able to think and analyze and also question himself or questions the existing knowledge, only then new knowledge or new research will be produced. A medical researcher analyzing clinical trial results must assess the validity of data and ensure unbiased conclusion. There are certain words that we have to remember. with respect to research characteristics. And in that critical thinking, we have to remember analysis, arguments, logical connection, questioning, detecting flaws. These are the important words, the key words. This calls for, or this will help us to understand that one has critical thinking. Because if some they in UGC-NET, if they give an explanation about this and what characteristic it is related to, only then we will be able to understand. We'll be able to suggest that it states about or it speaks about critical thinking. We will remember things easily with examples. That is why there are examples given to each of the characteristics. A medical researcher analyzing clinical trial results must assess the validity of data. Without knowing the data, whether it is true, whether it is correct or incorrect, he should not involve himself in research. That is critical thinking. Right? This is the first characteristic. Now we move on to the second one, which is analytical. Analytical skills. What is analysis? Analysis is nothing but breaking down complex problems into simple components. For example, when we prepare for examination, we will definitely make a timetable. And if it's a huge chunk, we will break it down. The study portion. This day we do this. Next 1 hour I do this. Next 3 hours I do this. That requires an analytical skills. You will know which one to study at first and which to bring it to the end. That is analysis. Even to study, even when I study, I need to do an analysis to give a good output. Like that, a researcher should also analyze what to do first. Breaking down complex problems. A problem may be complex, and he should know how to break it down, make it into simpler components so that he gets a perfect answer. And he should also know to interpret data. That's more important. That's why we have exams which tests our analytical skills. We should know to interpret data. And there is a question regarding these characteristics. Does it fall under the characteristic or does it speak about the types of research? Is interpretation. Through interpretation only, I understand the data and give the answer. And I recognize patterns, understanding trends. An economist analyzing market trends must interpret financial data to predict economic shifts. Next is curiosity. Most important thing when a researcher, to any researcher, is the curiosity to know, and inquisitiveness. To know things, to explore more. That is curiosity. Asking insightful questions and seeking deeper understanding. And there should be enthusiasm. He may be a good beginner, but the same enthusiasm should be retained until he completes his research or his topic. Otherwise, if the enthusiasm level comes down, there would be definitely he would not be able to complete the research as desired. So there has to be enthusiasm from the beginning till the end, a lifelong enthusiasm for learning and discovery. Scientists exploring space continue to ask new questions about the existence of extraterrestrial life. Curiosity and inquisitiveness. This is a third character. The second is analytical. First is critical thinking. Critical thinking, analytical skills, curiosity, and inquisitiveness. Moving on to next one, which is creativity. If there is creativity, only with creativity there can be new incomings. Generating innovative ideas, generating hypotheses, and finding solutions. Thinking beyond conventional methods, right? Starts from home also, where we fold clothes. Even when we fold clothes, we think beyond conventional methods. That is where we have new methodology which will help us saving space. Any simple act of us is always related to research. So if I want to save space, then I come out with innovative ways of folding the clothes. If I want to do something to the shelf, make it neat, then I have to find a new way. That can happen only if I have creativity, right? Tesla's development of electric cars revolutionized the automobile industry through creative engineering. We all know that Tesla is self-driven car. The recent innovation, not really recent, it happened a couple of years ago. And this is a groundbreaking innovation where nobody would have even thought of cars driving itself. But Tesla does that. That is that is born out of creativity, and it can also warn if the driver watches mobile. So all this, it's only an outcome of creativity. The person who has designed or invented that would have thought so much. There is a lot of curiosity, there is a lot of analytical skills, and there's a lot of critical thinking. What would a driver do? Before even bringing down the solution, he would think of everything that a driver does throughout driving a car. He would look at mobile, he would speak on the phone. Everything is directly or indirectly proportional to the number of accidents. That is when this Tesla, they came out with an idea: if a driver speaks over phone, if he uses phone, the car will move to one side of the road and it will stop itself. You need not stop, it will stop itself. So that requires a lot of creativity, analytical skills, and a lot of curiosity. So only so many aspects of research coming into place gave to a groundbreaking production. Next is methodical rigor. If a methodology is understood or followed, it has to be followed continuously until we get an answer. Adhering to research principles, we have certain principles which is to be followed while a research is done. It has to be followed, and ethical standards, they have to be followed for any research to be universally accepted. And research should be valid, it should be reliable, trustworthy, and there has to be transparency. These are the only things which help us to identify a research as a good one. So there should be validity, there should be reliability, there should be transparency. A pharmaceutical research follows strict protocols before approving new medications. Next, we have problem solving skills. This is one again most important factor, because every research may have one X problem coming in. During the course of research, there can be a new problem which creeps in. So what do? We have to have a problem solving skill. We will identify research gaps and develop solutions. Combining analytical thinking with practical execution. All that is thought cannot be put into practice most of the times. So analytical thinking should be combined with practical execution. Example, engineers working on earthquake resistant buildings must solve structural challenges innovatively. So they can produce or they can create earthquake resistant buildings. That should accompany with the structural challenge. The existing normal building, the structure would be different than the engineering who work with the earthquake resistant building. That should be solved. There should not be any gap, right? The problem solving skill is most important characteristic of research. Attention to detail, precision in data collection, analysis, and documentation, minimizing errors and inconsistencies. So everything has to be looked in detail. There has to be a neat data collection, perfect analysis, and everything has to be documented completely. The errors should be minimized. We cannot say errors should be avoided. That is not possible. There will be errors, but then we have to take care to minimize errors and inconsistencies. Forensic scientists must carefully examine crime scene evidence to ensure accuracy in investigation. This is a very good example for attention in detail, especially applicable for these kind of researchers. Anybody who's attending a crime scene, a crime case, is definitely doing a research on that particular crime case and only then giving us an output, right? Communication skills, another important factor, because without communication skill, we will not be able to present our idea effectively. So communication for a researcher is important both ways, writing and speaking. And It only when there is a good communication skill, the audience will be engaged, and then only if there is engagement from the audience side, if a speaker is able to engage the audience, only then he will be able to communicate his research output properly to the audience. A scientist explaining vaccine research findings to policymakers and the public. So, example is also a viva voce. When a PhD student has a viva voce, he has to have a good communication skill to explain his ideas clearly so that the audience accepts. These are the important factors of research. Perseverance and resilience. Overcoming, there will be a lot of setbacks, lot of negative things that might happen during the course of research, for which they have to accept that, and they should not run away. A researcher should not get back. They have to overcome the setbacks and adapt new strategies. If there is a setback, if today he is not able to meet that particular person at that particular time, he has to adapt a new strategy to do that positively from the next day. That is how, that's called as perseverance. He should not give up. He has to find new ways if there is a problem. Staying motivated in long term projects, most important. Example is somebody, a research scholar who is doing a PhD in any of the discipline. It's a long term project. He should not get bored after the first year or after the second year. Until he is able to complete his answer, he should have the same enthusiasm. Thomas Edison's repeated failures before successfully inventing the light bulb. The good example would be the PhD research scholar. Interdisciplinary perspective. We should be able to understand any research from not only from his field, from the other field also. Integrating knowledge from multiple fields and enhancing problem solving through collaboration. AI application in healthcare combine computer science with medicine. So there are two fields involved in it. You should be able to understand both the fields and accept the knowledge from both fields. So ethical integrity, adhering to ethical guidelines and maintaining transparency, respecting participants' rights. Ethical controversies in Facebook data privacy issues highlight need for responsible research. Example, time management, another important factor. Organization of your ideas, of your deadlines, everything. Because one cannot, if the time stipulated time given to a researcher is 4 years, he cannot happily extend as he wishes and pleases. That speaks about his poor time management. So time management is another key factor. Right? Project managers and research labs ensure timely completion of drug trials. Adaptability and flexibility, very important aspect. See, one has to be adaptable to the situations and flexible for everything, for the timings, for taking up new things. Right? During the COVID-19 pandemic, researchers adapted their approaches to develop vaccines quickly. So there is a lot of change in the way they dealt with. Collaboration and teamwork, another important aspect. There has to be acceptance among the team members, and team plays an important role. The Human Genome Project involved global collaboration among scientists. So, if there is going to be an ethical, if the scientists are going to be fighting amongst themselves that you are from this country and I'm from that country, the outcome would not be good. So there has to be a good collaboration and teamwork, technological proficiency, which is most important in today's world. Technology has to be understood. So the last one, this is a conclusion. Research aptitude combines multiple skills. What are the multiple skills? Technological proficiency, collaboration, teamwork, adaptability, flexibility, time management, organization, ethical integrity, interdisciplinary perspective, perseverance, resilience, communication skills, attention to detail, problem solving skills, methodical rigor, creativity, curiosity, inquisitiveness, analytical skills, and critical thinking. There are so many aspects, so many most important aspects for one to enter into research. Developing these characteristics lead to impactful and credible research. Now, today there were two concepts. First one is characteristics of research and the other one is types of research. Now, based on that, there are a couple of questions which are given here, which are PYQs. December 2018 had a question. In the list of statements given below, which of them offer a suitable definition of research? Give your answer by selecting from the code. So we saw a lot of definitions. There are two or three out of the five or six. There are two or three proper definition. Research means a repeated search. Research is basically an answer to a question. Research provides an authentic solution to a problem. Research is an endeavor to prove one hypothesis. Research is meaning-giving process. Research means drawing a sample. So out of this, the three that make sense is research basically answers a question, and then research provides an authentic solution, and research is meaning giving process. These three are more apt. Research means repeated search is something, it is only the derivation, right? It is not the definition. Research means research. That's how we split the word. We saw that in the last class. It is how we split the word and understand the word. It is not a definition. Please be careful about definition and splitting the word. That's why we will not say the first one is the right answer. Okay, first one will not suit. And D, research is an endeavor. It cannot be an endeavor to prove a particular person's hypothesis. No, no, we create an hypothesis. There is a question and we create an hypothesis. It is not an endeavor to prove the hypothesis. It is only a solution provider for a question. And research means drawing a sample. No, not all researchers use a sample. So B, C, and D would be the appropriate definition. Definition is different. Derivation is different, right? So please be careful with the words that they give. In which of the following methods of research the independent variable has to be selected rather than manipulated? Ex post facto method. Did I do ex post facto method today? Right, I will go back and check because I don't remember. If not, we will do this in the next class. There are 21 methods. So in this ex post facto method, we do research as an independent variable as to be selected rather than manufactured. I have a small doubt. Just give me 1 second. Did I do that today? Ex post facto method. Right, we will hold on this question because can someone tell me whether I explained this ex post facto method today? Inductive method, deductive research, logic-based is survey studies. Okay, there are a couple of other methodologies also. There's ex post, which we will see in the next class. Under this, there is historical research and etc. etc. All that will fall under next class. In next class, we will be able to get the answer for this question. In which type of research the steps of research have to be cyclic action research. Action research, only in action research, we will go back again and again to find an answer for a question. It is not possible in grounded theory. Grounded theory research is already a theory is given and then you, based on the theory, we work. Right. In that, it is not possible. We don't do that. Experimental research, we saw the experimental research, the definition for experimental research today. An experiment is done in a particular closed state or a closed place, which is applicable only. It is a case to, we will find an answer. It is example of experiments that we do, right? We will find an answer. There is no cyclic. Cycle is something that is done over and over again. That is what it means. This question means something that is done over and over again, which is done in action research. Grounded theory research, It's based on a particular theory where we will not do something over and over again. We will not do something repeatedly in experiments. In experiments, we have a question, we find an answer. We don't do it again. Once the answer is found, we don't do it. In case study also, when we look at a case study research is nothing but there is a case study given, and in that case, from that case study, you decide something or you find a solution. In that, we will not have cyclic method. Cyclic is continuous process. It will happen only in action research. Next question. From the following list, identify the one, just one second. Not able to read. Identify the qualitative. Okay, I am not able to reason something is hiding on the top. So this is regarding the qualitative analysis. Select your answers. Qualitative, the quality of qualitative research. The quality of qualitative research, quality and quantity, which we saw in last class. Quantity is respect to numbers. Quality is respect to something that is abstract. So creating purpose statement and research question is common for all research types. Stating the purpose and research questions in a broad way, collecting data based on words from smaller, yes, it is not based on numbers, it is based on words. And then collecting numerical data, no, that falls under the category of quantitative. Using text analysis and interpreting larger meanings for findings. So text analysis, these are the clue words for us for qualitative. Text analysis, data based on words. So these two, see, we will first find whichever is not applicable. When we read the word qualitative, numeric data is not applicable. Statistics analysis, that point is done away. Creating purpose statement and research question, that is common for everything. So actually, you need not purpose statement and research question need not be specific to qualitative. More than that, we have purpose and research questions in broad way. In qualitative analysis, something or a question is given in a bigger perspective. And we collect data based on words, use text analysis. That is the qualitative research. Through which research method the manipulation of an independent variable and its effect depend on dependent variable is examined with reference to hypothesis under controlled condition, experimental research, which is the clue word controlled condition. Controlled condition is a designated defined space and independent variable. Independent variable is nothing but a component which is taken for research. I take one particular component for research and the effect, cause effect, the word cause and effect is directed towards experimental research. That one particular word itself gives the clue. You should find the word clue in the question for research methodology. So cause effect is experimental research. The study of why does stressful living result in heart attack can be classified as. I gave many real-time examples because we will have questions based on real-time example. When we see the word why, if you go back to the PPT and find out, explanatory research answers the question why. So the key word in this particular question is why does stressful living result in heart attack? We have to look for the key word. Descriptive research will have a lot of description. It need not answer the question why. Correlational, we saw three types of relation. This to that, this to that. There is no necessity. Feasibility is done according to your convenience. But whenever the key word is, see, you might get confused between correlational and explanatory. But the key word here is answering the question why. That's so specific to explanatory research. A university teacher plans. I think we did not do ex post facto. Next class, we'll have a couple of more research. After that, this can be answered. Right? Qualitative research paradigm. Which of the following are features of the qualitative research paradigm? The research is concerned with understanding the social phenomena It seeks to establish relationship among variables. When there is an establishment of relationship among variables, it is correlational, right? Causes of changes. It is conducted in actual setting as the direct source of data, and researcher is the key instrument is qualitative. It is conducted with the process rather than simply with outcomes. Yes, qualitative research is concerned with the process, it's concerned with the actual setting, it's concerned with the understanding. Qualitative, earlier we had an answer, we had a question in qualitative where it goes with the words, it goes with the setting, it goes with the researcher, right? So these are the three things which is easier for us to understand. It is a qualitative research paradigm. It attempts to establish universal context-free generalization. Right. This answer will also be done in the next class, the method. Quantitative research is also called the structured approach. The other word for quantitative research is structured approach. Research design that needs to collect factual information on a continuing basis. So if you had listened to the class, continuous over a period of time is longitudinal study design. In which of the following research paradigms the focus of concern is on interpreting reality in terms of participants' perspective? So if you look at the participants, if you look at or focus on the participant, it is always ethnography. Ethnographic research. The key word here is participants' perspective. Focus on participant is ethnography. Right. These are a couple of people who contributed to the concept of research. We have the answer. Karl Popper. Karl Popper is falsification. T.S. Kuhn, it's again, sorry, T.S. Kuhn is paradigm. Paul is against the method. Francis Bacon is inductive method. We have inductive method and deductive method also. That will be dealt later. Through which of the following methods of research cause and effect relationship? The word itself. This is second question with the words. So if you understand research, whatever we teach here is just a insight. We are trying to give an insight to you, but there are more to it. The entire chapter or entire thing it may not be possible for any teacher to completely give the total input. So maybe we'll give an insight and important things. So you have to look for the words. This PPT helps you to look for the important words. I have made the PPT in such a way the important words are covered. So when you see the important words in the question, it should be easy for you to relate and identify. Cause and effect, experimental method. That's about today's class. So we will see in the next class with more of research. There are more things to adding to it. We will see it in the next class. We'll call it a day. Have a good day and thank you.